Okay, so I've been having quite a nightmare with this printer actually, which I finally figured out. So using PLA, Rainbow PLA, Silk PLA, I've actually been getting some nightmare clogs with this model. Now there's a few reasons, because this model requires so much retraction, pulling the filament, you see there, pulling it out and in, out and in, out and in, back and forth, non-stop. The reason is because when the nozzle needs to jump from, say, one of the petals, for example, to the other petal, to make sure it doesn't ooze like here, you can see some stringing there. It's very minor, but to basically prevent it, it needs to pull that filament back up, and then when it gets to the other petal, it needs to retract it. It needs to detract it. So it needs to retract to pull up and detract in the next petal, for example. So this model is full of retractions and detractions. Now I assumed, oh god, I spent literally like a month or two figuring out why it kept on clogging. Basically it just would stop printing and the nozzle would just end up mid-air. Now I basically concluded, and I finally fixed it, because it's been printing 42 hours non-stop now, this model, and it's basically not clogging anymore. And it was basically clogging because I was using the stock Creality fan here. So this is a replaced one. This is a 40 by 40 by 20 millimeter fan, so it's much larger and much more powerful than the original Creality one. Now what differences makes is that it cools down the heat sink that's on top of the nozzle. So there's a transition point where the filament gets melted. So it gets melted at the heat cartridge area at the very bottom. Like you see where that silicone, where that nylon cable tie is, that's where the heat cartridge is with the heater element. And just above that, where this cooling fan is a heat sink. So that area needs to basically remain really cool, so that anything above the heat cartridge area doesn't melt, because if it does, it clogs. So that's what was causing the clogging. So as soon as I replaced this to a 40 by 40 by 20 millimeter fan, all the clogs stopped. So I'm fucking at ease now, because I've been stressing out like crazy over this. But finally, it stopped. Hurrah!